Hey guys, what's up? It's Parker again. Today I'm going to show you the full process from conceptualizing and creating a product from scratch. This isn't one that I've ever made before, so I'm going to take you through the process of creating the pattern, drawing it up in Illustrator, printing it out, and making tweaks, making sure that it works well with the leather and the stitching and everything works well. So I sketched up this wallet a couple weeks ago. I finally got around to designing it in Illustrator and I just printed it out. Some of you are aware that the majority of our products go through a process of being laser cut and then stitched up and hand burnished and things like that. For this one, I'm going to be hand cutting it and making sure that everything is going to work well together. So I can make sure the holes for the button snaps are in the right place, so that there aren't any weird things that happen after I put it together. Sometimes you'll test it with a card and the card doesn't fit or certain things don't fold right. So this is the very first stage of the creation process. We gotta make sure everything works. I'm gonna cut this first one out of a couple pieces of scrap leather. This is from a number 59 trucker wallet that was cut wrong. It was cut backwards. So I'm going to use these to cut out my sample test wallet, and we'll see how it goes. So this one's gonna be called a vertical snap wallet, and it all started out on a piece of scratch paper for me sketching it out. Unfortunately, I don't have those sketches with me, but from those sketches, I was able to come up with this design in Adobe Illustrator. This is the tool that I use for making all of our patterns on all of our products. Everything goes through this program. You can make patterns like this using just basic knowledge of Illustrator. There's nothing fancy here. It's using the pen tool, line tool, making shapes. And so this is what I came up with. I'm using a little bit of a different pocket design on this one. It dips down in the middle as opposed to the left to right swoop. One thing you have to remember when you're making your pattern is that if you've got one panel that's the interior panel and it's supposed to match up with an exterior panel like this, always remember to flip it. When I first designed this, I basically just copied the outside shape of this and dragged it down. And I almost forgot to flip it. Luckily, I printed it out first, and I realized right before I was about to cut it, I went, wait a minute, if I cut it like that, then I'm gonna be facing the rough outside on the wrong side. We need this nice top grain to be on the back of it. So anyway, if that doesn't make sense, it will once I start making it, hopefully. I should say that it won't matter if you're just gonna use the pattern with paper, because all you have to do is this, if it doesn't work out. But the reason I say make sure you flip it is because we take this exact file, the very same file that we use to print out and test with is the one that I'm gonna send to my laser cutter so that he can cut me out 100 of them. So you really wanna make sure that the file's right before you send that file in to be cut. Or if you're gonna take and submit your artwork and send it to a die company to make you a custom die, I just went and grabbed one, it didn't just magically appear. This is a die cutter that I had made at a place called True Cut Laser, and it's a steel rule die. You can set it into a clicker press on top of your leather and just click it out. That's one solution you can do if you're not gonna have it cut by a laser or just cut by hand. That's another really great option. This is definitely more in line with the more traditional route. This is something that Western tack guys and shoemakers will use to cut out their pieces. So I printed out my pattern on a regular laser jet printer, and this one I realized after printing it was just a little bit too big. I put a card up next to it and realized, yeah, I still have like a good ½ an inch that I can bring it down in height. Oh, I think I ended up not taking it down a full ½ inch because I still wanted this to be used for cards. So it's a little bit smaller, but not a ton. But this is the new updated one. I can throw this one away. Let's see if I can make this. Nope. All right, so the next step now is to lay out my patterns on the scrap leather, and I'm gonna probably put my pocket somewhere right there. And I'm gonna trace the outline with my scratch awl. These are the handiest tools. You can get them at Tandy Leather for just like a couple bucks, I think. But I use this all the time. You can use it when you're hand stitching. You can use it just to mark the leather. This is probably my most used tool in my whole arsenal. I'm gonna go ahead and lay it down, trace it out, and then we'll move on to cutting. Pieces traced out. You have to be really careful when you're tracing with regular printer paper because it's so thin that it just moves around too much. If you have a way to print your pattern on something thicker, it's definitely worth it, especially if you're gonna be using that a lot. Since this is just a test just to make sure the size and shape of the wallet are where we need them to be, I'm not too worried about it. So now I'm gonna move on to cutting. So I'm taking my Tina blade. I linked to this in my last video, but I'll put it down in the description on this video as well, where you buy this. You get it from a shoemaker supplier called Rocky Mountain Leather Supply. It's called the Tina blade. Okay, so a really stupid move. I just realized I did exactly what I warned you about before. I took my back pattern and cut it this way as opposed to this way, so that now I've got the top grain leather matching up right here, so it's gonna be rough out. It's done, but it's okay because this is just a test. I'm not gonna stress it. The good news is that I've got it right in the artwork file, so that when I send it to my laser cutter or a die maker, it's gonna be right. Once I stitch these two together, it's gonna be too late to try and punch a hole on this other side to know where the other side of the button goes. So I have to figure out where that button's gonna go before I stitch these two pieces together. Until it's stitched, it's hard to kind of replicate what the actual wallet's gonna act like once it's done. But I'm just gonna put this together as close as I can. This is exactly why I make a sample and not just send it straight to the laser cutter from the pattern, because this part has to make sense or the whole wallet's gonna be messed up. So I think that's pretty close to what the wallet's gonna look like. This will of course be over there, but I'm just gonna push really hard on that button and see if I can make a mark. So we'll see how that goes. So now I'm gonna punch a hole in that spot right where I just marked and try and do it as in the dead center as possible. We'll see how that goes. So I'm gonna glue my pocket on this panel first before I make the main stitch going outside, because I need a stitch going from right here to here. If I glue it onto the main panel first and then I make my stitch for the pocket, the stitch is gonna go all the way through to the back, and we don't want that. So that's why we're just gonna take this front piece right here, and I'm just gonna make one stitch on the Juki from here to here, and then I'll glue this whole panel onto the last part and make my whole stitch going all the way around it. Okay, cool, I glued the two main pieces together, so it's ready to stitch now. Well, almost. I'm going to clean up the edges a little bit. I'm gonna take these edges to my bench grinder over there and sand them down just so they're nice and even. Then we'll be ready to sew. So if you have to sand your edges, you usually end up getting kind of some smashed, mushroomed out edges. So I'm gonna take my edge beveler. This is, I think it's a number 0 edge beveler. It'll just put a really small rounded edge around the whole thing since I sanded it. So then when we burnish it, we'll get a really nice rounded edge. Alright, just finished stitching it. So now the very last step would be to finish the edges. Get them all nice and slick and clean. Okay, one thing I'm already thinking about changing is I might make the curve of this a little bit more gradual because my burnishing wheel over there doesn't match the radius of this curve right here, so I can't get in there to burnish it. Now I can't come back with my Dremel tool and finish it off, which is what I'm going to do, but I don't want to have to do that if I'm producing 100 of these at a time, or even just 50 or 20 of them at a time. I want to make sure that I can be able to come in and do these pretty quick and efficiently. Okay, so that's it. So first of all, this leather was from the scraps bin. It's a little bit banged up, but again, this is just a tester, just to make sure the pattern works. My first impressions are, I like it. It's not exactly what I had in mind as far as the size and shape. I think I was picturing it a little bit smaller, but man, I don't think I can go any smaller without being able to get a card in there. So I'm gonna grab some cards from my wallet and see if I can, I'll test them out in there, make sure they fit well, make sure the cash fits well in here. Got those big beals. That's about how I would assume you use the cash flap. I'm not really concerned that it would cover the whole bill, just that it will keep it nice. I got my card here. Let's see how it fits in the card holder. Don't be stealing my identity. All right, cool. So that's pretty effective. Let me pull another card out, and I want to see if this one will fit inside there. So we got this secret pocket behind there that could probably fit 2 or 3 cards, and then we got one here that'll fit probably best with 2 cards, or 1 if you're really minimal. So I like it. I'm not a huge fan of rough out. Obviously that was a mistake, but I know some people really like the rough out. Yeah, let me know what your guys' thoughts are. A few of my critiques, I may make this a little bit more of a gradual turn coming down. I think I might even try and make this flap a little bit bigger just to give it better proportions. I'm not sure if that's something I could really explain other than just something that, like, in my mind, the way I visualized it, I think I would like it better if maybe that was just a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna try that. Yeah, in general, I'm pretty excited. I think that looks really good. So please, 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 please leave some comments with feedback. What kind of things you like about it, what you don't. And I'm gonna actually wait to have this cut from my laser guy. Or at the least, I'll probably wait to put it up on the website until I get some gosh dang good feedback from you guys. Your feedback is gonna shape the way this wallet turns out, and then I'll put it on the website and we'll start selling it. Keep in mind, this wallet specifically was a sample. When I do samples, I don't do my best work. It's not cost efficient to put tons of time into things that I'm not even sure are gonna work out. I could have gotten to the very end and realized, oh no, that's not gonna work because that doesn't reach that, and that's happened to me many times before, and it's really frustrating. So with samples, I kind of go quickly and rough, but this one turned out pretty well. There weren't any major mistakes. It's a pretty clean looking wallet, and some people really like the rough out. I've heard that it helps staying in your pocket better because the roughness keeps it from slipping out. If you want this wallet specifically, the one that I made right here today in my hands, then I'll let it go for $45. Just leave me a comment in the comment feed and I'll send you an invoice. Thanks for watching, guys. Please give me feedback if you have any questions about the way I do things on Adobe Illustrator, or the way we cut patterns, anything like that. Any kind of questions, I'm an open book. I would love to help out. And stay in touch for the next video. It'll be coming up quick.